I was almost not going to tell a story tonight because identity crisis is a biggie. The year before I turned 40, my father died. So the double shotgun blast to the face of mortality, of turning 40 and having your father die at the same time, was kind of a big one. But I think the changes were coming. My dad was important to me. He was there when I called after my doctoral orals having arrived on the deserted beach of central Pennsylvania, a social desert. He was there when I called about getting denied tenure. But he was also there when I got tenure. He was there to see me become a father twice. And despite his breakdown and shock treatment when I was in college, he kept in touch with the Chicago Center for Religion and Science for many years. And he managed to cadge an invitation for me to a conference in Cyprus between Athens and Jerusalem on religion and science, which was an epiphany for me in many ways. So I got denied tenure. I got a job at Elizabethtown, which is wonderful. My wife was pregnant with her second child, and it was a semester I was applying for tenure the second time. I remember getting up in the morning before dawn because I was horribly overcommitted and crying. I woke up crying almost every morning and drinking my cup of coffee and just scared myself because I said to myself, but you've never felt this much alive. Well, I got tenure, and I was not up for sabbatical for a couple more years for whatever reasons. And so I got a faculty grant to take my family to Cape Cod for a psychology workshop. I went to a workshop of Levinson and his new wife, Levinson, on seasons of a man's life and seasons of a woman's life. Levinson's the guy that did the original research on midlife crises. So I got to learn something about midlife crisis kind of before the fact, including your late 30s, which is called boom, becoming one's own man. And what happens even when you turn 40 and most of your dreams have been met, when you go, is this it? Is this all I get? Well, my marriage was already going sour because about the same time, I went to a reunion with my wife and met my first love that I hadn't seen for 12 years. And she still made my heart go pit-a-pat. And I realized there was something big missing in my marriage. Well, my father dies early. He was 67 years old. He died of a stenotic valve, fell on his face at my niece's school on Grandparents' Day. His identical twin actually outlived him by 20 years. But one of the things about an early death is someone leaves a lot of unfinished business. And part of his unfinished business was an article he was working on for the magazine of the Chicago Center about his work in religion and science for, much of his life. In addition to marching with Martin Luther King and giving anti-war speeches, he really had started a lot of this kind of stuff. So it was important to me to recognize that. So I took on rewriting this article of his for this magazine, Conduit of Flesh, and included a picture of him holding my son on his chest with a stein of good German beer. Looked like he was in heaven. I mean, it was really, I love that picture. Well, I started doing a lot more work in religion and science. I stopped becoming a real empirical research psychologist, started to become a scholar of science and religion. One fall, there was an offer for a European conference in Munich on religion and science. I submitted a paper. The next semester I was on sabbatical. And so I scheduled to go to this conference at the beginning of April. But that was a really hard winter. So being on sabbatical, of course, I had the lion's share of childcare. In addition to which, my wife's mother was declining during this period. So she was gone a lot of the time, and I had, 2 kids to take care of. So while I did a lot of reading and was working on a really long manuscript, the only thing I really would have accomplished on the sabbatical was that one paper for that conference in Munich. My wife's mother died about 2 weeks before the conference. And they took some time setting up a funeral, a viewing, the whole business. Went to Pittsburgh with them, with my kids, and then realized that I would have to leave before the funeral. We decided that Marty would have approved, would have encouraged me to do that. And that conference was amazing in a zillion different ways, many contacts and so forth. I come back from that conference, my marriage is still not doing well, but my wife has inherited some money so we can buy a new house, and we do. And the day after we move, I leave for another conference on Star Island, another religion and science conference. And at this one, it's like I'm coming home. I meet people on the dock, on the ferry, that I just was amazed by all that. I get on the island, get my suitcase, and I see my first double rainbow ever. Well, I spent 25 years in that organization, spoke in 14 countries, did a lot of things, but it was that following summer with my kids where we did a movie called Teske, a movie about Amelia Earhart, who said, "Courage is the price that life exacts for peace." Thanks.